Hello. I think we're just about here. It's always tricky when you've got a guest. Hang on, let me get this right. So Abby can join us. Eden, Abby, your viewers. We need Abby to come on. Eden's watching. Hi, my darling. Hi, Mum. Nice to have you with us. We've got a great one today. Hi, Dale. Just waiting for Abby to come on. We've got such a goodie today. Abby Batty. That's what I call him. Abby Batty. Josie, hi. Stacey, hi. I want to say thank you to the one lovely Persona Grata people who came and met me on, hi, darling, on Thursday night. My goodness, you got me thinking, all of you. Hi, Kath. It's good morning over where you are. Okay. Afternoon in a lot of Australia. Persona Guest Live is watching. Okay, add him. Add. Here comes Abby. Connecting, adding, he's coming. Hi, Vanessa from Rockhampton.
Hi everyone.
Hello. Oh, very well,
Hello.
thank you. Hi to everyone. Everyone loves it when you come on our lives, Abby.
Well, I love coming too, so I'm really happy to
Oh,
be there.
oh, Hester, it's your first time watching live. Lovely to have you. Lovely to have you. So excited. Yeah, people are excited. Abby.
Welcome everyone.
Okay, so now, have you got your... Okay, so you're going to be looking away at their comments, or is your phone and your computer the
Yes,
same?
I
So,
was just setting up everything
okay,
because I just want to be able to see the chat.
okay, can you pull it over so you can see the chat? So, because you,
Like
see
this?
how you go, see how you go. Yeah, yeah.
Okay, I'll do my best.
Do your best. Okay. All
There
right.
we
Today is
go.
a really
That's the
interesting
best I can do.
topic. Okay, that's great. Today we're doing a really interesting topic that's I've been getting messages about for the last. Hester. Oh, I pronounced your name correctly. Excellent. Well, that's a good start. Today we're talking about getting ready for the 2020s. And I suddenly woke up a few weeks ago and thought, oh my God, great, Robin. Hi, my darling Trevor. Um, I thought we are nearly at the end of a decade, and how dramatically has this last 10 years, hi Ellie, changed everything in our world? I don't think in 2010 we could imagine where we are in 2020. Would you agree, Abby? Coming up for 2020, our world is
Absolutely.
very different. Yeah,
Absolutely.
very different. And I got this strong message started coming through, which was there's no time to wait. It's like the climate change messages, like Greta Thunberg and all the student activists all over the world about so many issues. And it's saying it's time, there's no time to wait. And my belief is that we are all at the exact age we were meant to be for this time. And we have all been
Mhm.
going through an apprenticeship, learning stuff, learning through life, having hard stuff happen. But they're like our initiations, our life lessons school, if you like. And we all have to act now. We all have got to step up. And I think it's about the feminine rising that we've got to shift from. We're seeing the crumbling of toxic masculine coming down. We've had the Me Too movement in these 10 years, Black Lives Matter, other things.
Yes. Yes.
And we are having the adult feminine, the elder feminine must lead now. And I saw a great comment from Marianne Williamson, who's actually a Democratic candidate for the presidency in America. And
Mhm.
I follow these people quite closely. And she said, Trump is not he's not caused all of this, but the spiritual void, the heart and soul void for hundreds of years where policies have not been based on empathy, policies have not been based on care for all, policies have been based on government policies throughout the Western world, void. And this has allowed the Trumps of this world, the Putins, the Bolsonaros, the Dutertes, the Morrisons, to come into that gap. So we've actually got this heart and soul spiritual void, which is showing the worst of toxic masculinity, and it's now about changing. And I think you and I and everyone watching has
Mm.
got a place and a part to play in this.
We do.
Your
We
thoughts?
do. Sorry for the little lags, huh? I don't know if it's coming from you or from you. That there's little videos, comment dire, issue,
Oh,
but I
really?
think it's back to normal now. I think it's back to normal.
back to normal.
So I think
Okay,
I hear
thank
your
goodness. This
point,
happens,
and I
guys. If
hear,
Wi-Fi is, yeah, that we've got a
yeah,
part to play
we're
in the
changing.
feminine rising because it's in men and women. It's in men and women.
Oh la la, oh la la. Yes, of course. Uh, like it's funny you were talking about Donald Trump and how things have changed. I think we're also facing the opposites, where how they did like the old, like the good versus the evil.
Oh,
Like we came
yep.
in decade that's like you said, we saw born the Me Too movement and the kind of exposition of uh, all those issues that coming from male energy, like dark male energy. And I feel like we are
Unbalanced
in this
male energy.
between for now where, yeah. I'm
Yes.
not, did I say just male energy? I mean like bad man
No, no, yeah,
energy. What I mean is just
yeah.
there is this thing
Masculine
like in this
energy,
like
which is in,
the
yeah,
situation today. Mm. Yeah, keep
yes,
going.
because it's in women and men. I have heard of through a friend of a friend of a friend, so very
Yes,
long
of course.
distance. I don't know this person personally, but how a woman who
Mm.
is has crushed her inner feminine and is very dark masculine and has now set about her execution just perfectly in the workplace. And this is happening everywhere. So we'll see it where there's
Of
great
course,
imbalance, where the masculine has
of
crushed the
course,
feminine. That's what we're talking
of
about,
course.
and the
It's a
masculine
way
is
of
about
surviving in this world today.
if you're in child, you are about surviving and you are about yourself. There's no
Mm.
question about that. So I'm
Mm.
thinking that in this last period now, toward the end of 2019, what have we got? 10 weeks till the new year, something like that. I don't know, 10,
Something like
12
that,
weeks, something like that. That we are
yeah.
all getting a crash course in where we may be stuck, where we are stuck in our masculine feminine imbalance. Mine was always overly masculine and underdone feminine. That was my work. But we're
Yeah. Mm.
actually having to bring the feminine forward, and we've got to know what is child feminine, what is child masculine. And I also think a lot of people who've done a lot of work, and you know who you are. We had a great discussion on Persona Grata community yesterday, that some people have been absolutely crippled by grief recently, just so heavy. And what I would say to them is this is the collective. I, on the other hand, go to rage first. So I was hit with massive rage, which was about the injustice, how appalling it is that the toxic masculine has
Mm.
been able to trample all over people, be hypocritical, lie through their teeth, abuse their power, own nothing, take accountability for nothing, and the world tiptoed around eggshells all the way. Now, that happens with Trump, it happens with Boris Johnson, but it happens in a lot of homes. It happens in a lot of places. That's
Yes,
the toxic masculine.
yes,
I'm going to
yes.
do the
That sounds
toxic
really
feminine
swan.
as well. It's very swan and it's very Mars aggression and very prickly and defensive and intimidating. But there's been no
Mm.
accountability for centuries of this really childish and very abusive, be it verbally, emotionally, mentally, or physically, spiritually, very abusive energy. And I've had conversations with people, Abby, where we've said it's just outrageous that they get away with it over and over again. And I've come up with the answer. Oh well, there's always karma. You reap what you sow. These things come to
Yeah.
pass, which is true, which is absolutely true. But however, I think we're in
Oh,
different times. Suddenly we're in different times. And what's needing to happen, we've got a struggle going on internally with the masculine and feminine and these old patterns of ours. And life's going to start smacking us, if it hasn't already, people, it's going to start smacking us in the head very strongly to say, you need to wake up here. You need to stop denying here. You need to stop resisting here. You need to see what's going on here. You need to own here why you enable this, why you are staying with this. And it might be the toxic feminine. You might be the one who says, I can't manage on my own. I can't go forward on my own. Hi, Christy. Please jump in with comments or likes so that I know that I'm not boring you, everyone. That would be really like, I'm a needy person underneath. I'm a very needy person. Um, so what we have with the toxic feminine is a subservience, a submissiveness, an enabling. Oh, okay, I will walk on eggshells. And this is cultural and sociological. It's of our times. But I'm saying
Mm.
that needs to change now. So we're needing a switch to happen internally. So people are going through some very, very rough times at the moment. And it's interesting. You then can observe how they slip straight back into child, Abby. A hard, never boring, oh, thank you, Sarah. A hard thing happens and exposing things happen. You talked about exposure. Harvey Weinstein's a great example. You know, the Michael Jackson
Beginning of
documentary, like,
everything.
yeah. Very huge catalyst. It's like there's a domino effect happening. We're in Raven
Yes,
times
yes.
exposing. And
It
this
was a huge
Scorpio,
pieces. Yeah.
huge. And this is why our times have changed so much. So we're going into a Raven period right now for the rest of the year with Mercury retrograde. So it's going to slow it down. Hi, Joanna. It's going to slow things down. So you have to look at
Hello.
the toxic and the dysfunctional in your life, maybe in your work life, maybe in your partnerships, maybe in your home life, maybe with parents, maybe with children, with friends, wherever it is. The old thing is I'm going to be blind and pretend it doesn't happen, or I'll just forget that it happens, or I'll just dismiss that it happens, or I'll
Yeah,
minimize that it happens.
yeah.
And as people
Not
do
being a
that and
part
you'll
of
watch
it.
it, you'll need to understand that that is a child coping mechanism just as much as the swan lion raven aggression is a child coping mechanism. But these are the things that we all need to release and face and own now. Any story we have in our heads of I can't do ... I can't ... Oh, it's so relatable. I feel like you're talking to me. It was interesting talking on Thursday night when I was so blessed to be able to do that show in Mandurah with Conan Denham. And I was blessed because I got to hear from a lot of women and I could see that they were hungry for this message.
Mm.
And I was very excited by that, surprised and excited. But we all played child, little girl, child, little boy, act out, cling, codependency. I can't manage on my own. Hi, Joe Josie. And I've got those stories too. And for the last couple of weeks, I've been looking at my stories of, but I can't go here without ... or I have to have, and they're all stories. Abby, you've got stories. We've all got stories. Poor
Yep.
connection available. Are you back? So I was just saying how we have
I'm
stories,
back, yeah.
Abby.
It's,
We have stories
we
about
do.
why we need to
We
stay where
do,
we
we
are, why
do.
we can't go further, we can't go forward. Um,
Exactly,
I'm saying the planet can't wait.
exactly.
Right? We can't keep having another, a few insights every now
I
and
feel,
then and growing at that pace. The time is now.
mm, yeah. What it's making me think of is not especially that we don't have to be clingy or we don't have to be aggressive. It's just that maybe we should just being able to be those things and realize that we're wrong. Enfin, being able to realize that you're wrong by being those things is just by being with the right person, I suppose. You know, being clingy to the wrong person, c'est
It's like we
really.
can't be clingy to anyone, though, Abby. So maybe we look at the child a little bit here, just a summary. Hi, Judy and Leonie. So glad you're here.
I mean,
If when
yeah,
we're in
yeah.
child, we are looking outside of ourselves for this job, this salary. Hi, Tonya. We're looking for this job, this salary, this partner, this friendship, this group that I belong to. I don't know what it is, but we are looking outside for validation, approval, permission. We're looking outside of ourselves to have our inner wounds met. And
Mm,
my philosophy is, and Will Smith talks about this, that we are responsible for our own happiness. No one can make you happy. I've been facing so many, but the growth has been painful but rewarding. Kylie, that's exactly it. I think many people are going to be confronted with painful situations right now where they realize their child chose where they are in any of aspects of life. And the child wants to stay there in that way. And we're going to have to face, oh my God, this isn't sustainable. This isn't long term. This is what love isn't. This isn't an action of self love. Hi, this is about
okay,
self
okay.
abandonment. And I have to face, and so I'm going to have to go through the consequences of my child choosing badly, choosing from not knowing, and that's fine. I've done it. I was there
That's
for
really
18
dog,
years.
I have to say.
But I did it too, Abby. I don't have dog. I don't have sparrow. I did it too for 18 years. There are so many, every persona can have a
Okay,
story for why to stay in any sort
okay,
of
okay.
scenario. And I've stayed in other scenarios as well where I should have left, I could have left earlier, but I did not want to face the reality of the honesty of the situation because of. but I can't dot dot dot. Here we go. We've lost him again. He'll come back. Hang on. Add Abby Vu. Try again, Abby. Just come on. I'll keep going because I do. Okay, Abby, you just need to try and reconnect if you can, darling. So I don't think it's just for, particularly strong types of personas and maybe strong women. It's a Band-Aid that really needs to come off, but we can't face doing it. So we peel off a little bit, then reseal it. Christy, we do. And we go into denial and we go into forgetting. And then what we do is, I'm just going to keep trying to get Abby here. Here we go. There he is. Where are you, Abby? You're coming and going. It's the internet. You have to choose yourself, and you have to choose self-reliance and total responsibility to go out there and see if you rise or fall or fail on your own. And how many of us resist that and stay attached where we shouldn't? And it's very much, we look for outside validation, love and happiness. We do. And then the other partner the more masculine looks for adoration and for servitude from others. You'll come back now. We'll just put up with this and we'll get through. It's a bit like how life is at the moment.
I'm back.
It's not your
Sorry.
fault. It's not your fault, darling. It's not your fault.
Every time.
Every time.
Sorry.
But we know. At least I know
time.
what button to push now, so I can get you back.
Okay.
So, Abby, I'm talking about while you were briefly absent, that the strong ones, the toxic masculine, wants to be served, wants to rule, wants to be in charge, wants to control, wants it their way or the highway. Very impatient, very intimidating, demanding, aggressive, sharp. Don't own a thing. You know when you're with a toxic masculine, be it in the feminine, because my first husband would say that was me and he wouldn't be wrong. He would be right. When we are in toxic masculine, that's our behaviour. And no one is equal. So we're all having to learn. This is a generic lesson. We're all having to learn how to get that. But we've got to have a feminine-led world. We've got to reimagine a feminine-led world. When we're in child, we're toxic feminine, we're toxic masculine, and we are living from fear, and it is about survival only. And it's all about me, and I have no ownership of how much I drain others, how I cling to others, how much I refuse to grow up. We have no ownership of the enormous pain that we inflict on others. We have no awareness. We don't want to know. We don't see. And I am saying that the 2019 that we are in now, it's all about having to have our logs in our eyes where our 2020 vision is very compromised, taken out. All our stories of, but I can't, but I have to, but I need, but I want, whatever those stories are, they're going to come and show us. If we don't see it and we stay in denial, I tell you what, you're going to get fry pans around the head. It is going to be so painful. And we do have to rip the Band-Aid off and know that we can come together. This is a feminine imagined world. An elder feminine is, we come together and we say, we've been there too. We're with you. You're not alone. We'll come in and drop in. We'll be friends. We'll be support. We will help you through this to learn how to stand on your own 2 feet, side by side, but you lead your own way. I think the love I get from Trevor and the support I get from Trevor is a bonus. I think I am responsible for my happiness and for my destiny and for my path. And by owning every trigger that comes up, I spare him a lot of my child outbursts. And what I get from him is an absolute blessing. And I was not able to receive that for a very, very long time. But it's about owning everything, people. And I think what we're going to have between now and the 2020 starting, which is going to be the most dramatic shift of decades we're going to have seen in our lifetime, what's going to happen is we are going to have to be confronted with where we have held ourselves back. Does this make sense to people? It's time to click again. What do you reckon, Abby? Jump in, darling.
I feel I'm really, really lucky to talk about that precisely because I am living with the person. Like I'm not living
your
with
soulmate.
I think I'm living with my soulmate. I'm living with like more than what I would have dreamed of to live with. And what I get from my relationship is just how I can be even better than myself. I feel better than how I could have ever been.
On your own.
Yeah. So I feel like I'm in the good place. I feel like I'm just lucky to be in this.
But it's not just like
really talk about.
No, it's wonderful, Abby, because I think I'm really interested in
it gives me strength.
It strengthens and energizes you. There we are.
Yes. It's
so
more
what happens?
Motivating. It's more rewarding of doing my stuff. So what I mean.
So
I
this is
think
where
that's
we
fair.
have that phrase, go where you are celebrated, not merely tolerated. And in cellmate relationships, we have a
Mm,
fairy tale because we are in child, and we've probably seen pretty toxic relationships in our parents a lot of the time. So we've got this fairy tale of
mm,
what love might be. And what makes you so sure now is the time and not another 10 years? I feel like a lot of people are still not there yet. I reckon everyone has a knowing inside, and it's also how
we're
many
gonna
times
be.
do we need the lesson until we get there? I think we're going to find there's an increasing of speed. Our souls, someone said to me, sent me a message this week, my lovely friend Lisa, bloody brilliant woman. And she said to me, you know what? Our souls are now allergic to what is toxic and what is child, and it will actually be repelled by what we can no longer be with. It's like, I cannot sabotage myself that way anymore. What love is I'm a
Mm,
bigger, better, more loving version of myself, excited, more responsible, more owning, and I step out in the world and I become even more of myself. In the toxic relationships, we pretend that's what we've got, but actually we're undermined, we're criticized, where there's jealousy involved, there's sabotage involved, there's actually true malice involved, where when they're really in their pain, they hate they hate the partner and they want to bring them down because they feel competitive, they feel less than, and it's extraordinarily toxic. But then watch out for that secret ingredient, sex, affection, being
not
attached.
only.
And
Yeah,
that can not doesn't come in with everyone, but it can be used that we get continually seduced and charmed back to the fairy tale
could be
story
the
of this is
image.
our relationship, this is our relationship. And yet, then within a few days, we get the truth comes out, which we can then want to go blind to. Whereas I am not supported at all.
It
The
could be.
words don't match the actions at all. What they say about love, what they say about they feel me, does not match in any sort of practical, genuine support and compromise. And it's not the truth at all. And you all know when that's happening. And then we
Mm,
have this war internally. That person is a contract for you just to reflect to you, where are you up to? Where's your self respect? Where's your self love? How adult are you? Because the child's never leaving. I'm telling you, the child ain't never going. And because we're going into Scorpio and Raven stuff now, those who can feel that they're hold over those who have been attached and in need of the strong masculine, which is often the toxic masculine,
mm.
they're going to have the sexual card played really powerfully this towards the end of the year, but it doesn't last. That's not love. That's not love, and that
Yeah.
isn't genuine love and support in the relationship. You go for it, Abby. What would you like to say?
Well, I think it could be not just only sex. I think sex is probably the one for the physical persona,
Yes,
but
true. Peacocks and
it
swans will
could
play
be
that card.
a dark owl relationship. I don't know, like where we just pretend that everything is okay, or
Yeah,
it could be a sparrow relationship. Everything is crumbling.
yeah.
It's fine.
We've all got our
There
ways, haven't
is
we? We've all got our style of how we
there
go
is a
into
difference
denial.
of how it have to look like and how it really is. You know, like why are you standing with someone sometimes? Like you have to understand why does it worth you suffering? Like there is something that's keeping you there in this suffering. It's like is it it could be because of children. Most I think the biggest reason have to be children. But sometimes it can be something really just like, oh, it seems to be what I wanted. You know, you just go with someone because it is someone that is going to be good for your image. Me, one of
Ah,
the first person that I wanted to be with was someone that I could never be with if I accept myself. It was
yes.
someone that was really religious. And at the time, I was really religious. But the only reason why I would go for that is just because, oh, you're religion, you're Muslim, I'm Muslim too. That was it. But
That was it.
for years
Yeah,
of communication with this person, I felt terrible because I didn't get an emotional feedback, an
yeah.
emotional connection. It was an owl person, so
Yes.
voilà, c'était,
I totally
it wasn't great.
understand, Abby. I totally
Yeah.
understand. Isn't it funny? I think we come into relationships with very little idea often of what love is. We have not we've not seen it modelled. If you look at reality TV, my God,
Mm.
you're not going to get it. I also heard on Thursday night, I could see with a lot of people, Ellie, you were there. You've got a great comment here. I do believe and feel my own soul work has accelerated over the past year more than previous years. And there were women there who were saying, I'm really excited about growing. I'm really growing. And my partner has no intention of growing. They don't want to own stuff. They don't want to look at stuff. And this male or female, I'm not saying that it could be the men who's growing and the woman who doesn't. It's not about gender. This is about where we are internally in child and adult, masculine and feminine. That's a different story. And so if you're
How do
making
you
a move
trigger?
and you know you've got a hunger, hey,
No,
what
no,
was
keep
that?
going. I'll say it after. I'll let you finish your point.
Okay. So when people want to grow, that means we're really going to have to walk our talk, and we're going to have to go out there on our own 2 feet, rip the band-aid off and face what we thought we couldn't do. But actually, we've got the resources, all of us within us, to manifest our dreams and to go where we really believe we could go. But even I've had this story about, no, I can only go here. I can't do that. I can't do that. And it was my fear of execution, fear of crucifixion that was coming in. So I think, if I may say, that there's going to have been, for some people, their fears are going to come up in their face, their deepest fears, and their child strategies to cope with their deepest fears. I don't want to be abandoned. I don't want to be alone. I don't want to be orphaned. I don't want to be bereaved. I don't want to be executed. But our survival mechanisms to try and avoid that is going to guarantee it happens. So either we wake up now, Abby, or the very steps that we do digs a deeper, deeper hole that we're going to have to go into and then climb out. And we're really going to feel ashamed then, because it's like the signs were there and we kept ignoring them. We kept ignoring them and we kept going down the dark hole. Then it's a harder hole to climb out of, a deeper hole to climb out of. I dug a very deep hole for 10 years. I talked about it in Fate, Destiny and Love, in our part 3 section, and it's a long hole to climb out of. It's great work. It is the work. There's nothing wrong with doing it that way, but it's a painful way. I just am certain that we're going to have any self-deceptions that we are holding on to, illusions. Hi, Kylie. Any self-illusions we're going to hold on, any pretense, any denials, I think we're going to get battered around the head with them, because the world can't wait. We've got to step up with love now. We've got to step up with truth. We're going to see a lot of hypocrisy unmasked, a lot of where people say, this is our life, this is what we're about, and then the truth behind closed doors. Actually, perhaps not. We were talking about that. Was it that rapper, RJ Kelly? We have exposés
The
on, is it
R&B.
R&B, whatever,
It's
fuck ever,
okay.
I don't know.
We've been
You
doing
know
this a
who I
lot of
mean.
because we were talking about
Exposés.
dark male energy, and so I
Toxic
talked about
masculinity.
the
Yeah.
the documentary that is on Netflix about R. Kelly and all the bad stuff. So, voilà,
It's
pretty
it's
pretty
all
dark.
part of it. Hi,
Anyway,
Nigel. Great to have you back. We missed you the other time.
hello,
Didn't
Nigel.
know where we got to. It's great having. It's lovely having men who
It,
have, the great men that are out there. Because I'm not an anti-male person at all. I love men, and I will not make a black and white statement about this is a male issue,
I
because
wouldn't be
I
there.
just have. We wouldn't be there. I wouldn't be working with having married to such a beautiful man. That's not the truth. But great
Dead
men
on.
have got a real feminine. They've got an honouring feminine and a respectful feminine and a loving feminine, and they've got the courage to be true to themselves. And they've got integrity, but they walk their talk. There are a lot of people
So
out
you
there
have
who
to
can
accept.
talk,
You have
understand the feminine.
to
We
accept.
talked about this in Hades, in previous posts. Hades can talk the talk of, I'm so feminine, I'm so evolved, I'm such a new age with it person, and I understand this. And women flock to that. But the actions can often be absolutely the opposite, and they loathe the feminine. This is Hades. They loathe the feminine, want to destroy it. We talked about this before. And I've talked to a lot of women where we've got married, or a lot of people, men too, but predominantly women, where they married someone who had their best behaviour on, and did their charm, did their get my partnership going, here I am attached. And then they dropped back to who they really were. They couldn't sustain it because the child can't sustain it. And then the women were shattered to discover, oh my God, you're nothing like I thought you were. We are also responsible because we had our rose-coloured glasses, fairy tale, happily ever after glasses on, and the signs were ignored. I'm saying that Band-Aid is being ripped off the world now, Abby. That Band-Aid is being ripped off the
Okay.
world. You get a wake-up call powerfully, and if you don't get it, they'll have to be harsher wake-up calls. And if you look at what's happening in our world, there are more harsh wake-up calls coming because this is a collective issue that's going on. So we were wondering if Nigel was okay. Hope you're okay. He's been on a dark journey. I knew you'd gone to the dark, Nigel. I knew you had. And all of us can say we ignored the red flags, but that was the contract as well, that we had to experience it to wake up. But it's like the planet is asking us, it's like spiritually we're being asked, please wake up instantly. You've had as much time as we can give you. Get it.
I wanted to ask you a question. It's going to be a hard
Yes.
question to answer.
Oh, I love them.
How do we... it's just coming from the comments that say that, I don't know who say it about her changing, but the partner didn't really go for that. So the question come out of it is, how do you trigger the change? How do you...
How do we move? How do we grow up very quickly?
How do we understand that we need to grow up, maybe?
Yeah.
How do we
Okay,
face
so we see, how do we face it? How do we face it? Okay, so there are going to be
question,
people. No, I love it. This is what my whole work is about. I have been on this journey. I think I only realised overnight. I've been awake half the night, processing child masculine, child feminine, and how they collude together, how they enable each other, and how my raven has actually been in deep rage about this my entire life, and that is not by accident. If we can start, Abby, with owning stuff, you're right, Dale, we see what we want to see. If we can start with whatever we are facing currently, whatever's going on in our life is a clue. And nothing is there by accident. And so whenever I am triggered, and this goes for years and years, and I look at, well, this is not happening by accident, Katie, there's a reflection here, mirror, mirror, what's the story, what's the story? And I think if we are triggered, this is what we talk about in the User Guide for Humans, how we are born to be. You're doing a lot better after your dark night of your soul journey. Well, we go there, Nigel, so that we come back wiser, but we have to come back to the light. This is no time to retreat to the dark night of the soul. It's actually go there, get it, come back out. But I'll talk about that a bit more in a minute. How do we get it? Well, first of all, we've got to know, we've got to be honest with how we're feeling. We've got to take off the blind spots and look at the life we have created for ourselves. Look at the mess we have created for ourselves. Admit how lonely we are, how unsupported we feel, which is the degree of lack of support we have for ourselves. I talked about my marriage being about abandonment, that I could talk the talk of self-worth, but I didn't live it because I didn't know how to receive love. I had no concept. I had no understanding. You get stuck a lot there, Rachel, don't we all? It is not the time to get stuck, people. If you're in rage, if you're in despair, if you're in grief, if you're in whatever, we have to travel the river and move through it, pick up the wisdom and come out more as the messengers about what love is and know what love isn't. We have to move from a fear-based world to a love-based world. And that's what we're all here to reimagine, to recreate together. So I think we know when we're upset. I think you know when the toxic feminine is, I'm really upset and I'm crying on the floor and I feel helpless and please don't be mean to me and don't hurt me. And why would you say that? I've begged you to be so kind to me and I've done, all of that. And then we've got the toxic masculine, which is screaming ultimatums and abuse and undermining and cruel. And we've all got that. We've all got shades of this. When we are triggered, we have to go in. We have to go in and have a look at, this is what I have said I am worth. My actions, not my words, state what I am worth. And I tell a story about why I have to stay here, and this is all this, and shame comes into it, public face. I don't want people to see that I fucked up yet again. And we may need to fuck up 15 times, that's okay. So definitely needs to be a realisation of our own involvement. Yeah, nothing changes until we start owning stuff. If we're with a partner that can't own anything, can't apologise, denies, is aggressive when any difficult issue is brought up, or minimises, or makes it about you, you're mad, you're crazy, wow, that's a new strategy against the feminine, isn't it? Haven't seen that one for the last few thousand years. I'm telling you, we're standing up now. We can't deliver like for like. We can't deliver abuse, attack, eviscerate them, emasculate them as much as my child wants to. I totally own that. We can't deliver like for like, but we actually have to stand up and go, okay, I see what the truth is. This is going to be a self-truth, a real truth acknowledgement time. From now and in the early 2020 year, that you need to wake up to the truth of what you've created and what your self-worth really is, the mirror of your inner self. And then we're going to have to politely say, yeah, we all have PhDs in fucking up, Nigel, but we don't want to have a PhD in giving up, which is not the same thing. And that's what a lot of the feminine will give up, and then the masculine will dominate. That this is how it enables the two to coexist. They give up and tiptoe. Fuck off. I tell you what, I'm not tiptoeing anymore. So, and neither should we, but we have to still come from a message of love. But it really is how to handle the dark child. I've talked about it for years. We have to move on. We've got to walk away. Those people can stay there for lifetimes. We actually have to see the reality, Abby. We have to move from child to adult, and that's why you need to know which personas in you are doing what. But you have to see it first. So everything that between now and the 2020s, isn't it interesting? 2020 is what we call vision. When you go for an eye test, how's your vision?
That's where it's
1 out of
coming
20.
from.
Yeah, it's where it comes from.
That's
So
please
do you
not.
reckon
Please
the
not.
2020s might be a whole decade of seeing the truth, and where the innocent were told they were guilty and the guilty pretended and maintained and lied that they were innocent? Do you reckon we might be correcting that vision in this next
Oh,
decade?
no, no. You're asking a swan, no? Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's like where we're gonna not have an opposite view because I think it can happen. We can come to a positive conclusion in
I agree.
the decade that is coming, but I have to also like seeing the state of the world today, how politic is and how we manage to develop ourselves as human and where we just are. I'm French and I'm seeing revolts everywhere in Europe,
Yes.
even
In
at the north
Chile,
of
there was 1 million
Africa.
people. Yeah, in
And like
Africa, in
yes,
Lebanon, in
yes,
Chile, a
in
million
Algeria
people
where my
marching.
parents are come from, in
Yes,
China, when I see all of this,
in
there is a
China, Hong Kong.
mistrust. It's
But
like
it's an
something needs to
uprising.
explode.
But it
Yes,
is,
yes,
Abby. It actually already has started, and it is. And you know, women,
oui,
particularly,
but
because
that's
we've always put as the second rate, the underneath, the less valuable. We've been told that
mm,
emotions are bad. We've been told that emotions make us mad. We've been told that emotions make us wrong. We've been told that our passion and our calling out the truth is wrong. Well, it isn't. And we are not going to take that now, because we actually
yeah,
can see, and we're dealing with temperamental tantruming children. We can call it
yeah,
out. We don't need to add abuse into the mix, but we're not staying quiet. We actually need to rise now. And rise means rise in your own life and call out our own hypocrisy, call out our own
hmm
dependency, codependency, own abusiveness, own toxic masculine, feminine stuff. It starts within. And then we go, wow, I need to own it, forgive it, see it, love myself, know where it came from, and then move out into the world with what I honestly came to do. And I don't have to be attached to toxic people to make my dream, because I guarantee you,
yeah.
you won't reach your potential if you are attached to any toxicity at all.
And I wanted to finish my point. Sorry. It's just again from my perspective, Swan's perspective. I think the biggest fight is to come during the next decade. But during this one from 2010 to 2020, we realized that we could kind of fight it. We are
Yes,
realizing that we can change things more than we ever did. Me coming from France, every time I'm like, yeah, revolution from the French, yeah, it's possible. But that was so long
yes,
ago, and this argument always come on the table when we talk about changing things. But
it does. It
I
does.
really think that we we're
Bye,
going
Vanessa.
to really realize what are we as human in the future if we wanna be able to solve
Exactly.
everything. And
So,
that's the
shall we
hardest
talk
bit.
about? Can we talk about? We can see what's
That would be
toxic.
the
We can.
solution, but I'm not sure if it's gonna happen. But anyway, yeah, yeah, we can talk about.
We don't know. There's no guarantees, Abby. There's no guarantees.
There's no
But what?
guarantees. It's
No,
extremely
no,
hard
no.
work,
But
I think.
it's extremely hard work, and it requires brutal self-honesty, which is what our work's all about. It
Yes,
requires starting
yes.
with us. Now, can we talk about now? First of all, we had a great question from Rianne, who's in Wales, and she'll watch this later today. But she said, what is the child's motivation? What is this? Because, often we wind up in places. And the child's motivation, if I want to summarize it, is self-preservation through another. that another will meet my needs, that another will take self-preservation through another meeting my needs, another filling in my holes, another giving me the love, another filling that hole, that need, that want. The child doesn't believe that they can manage in the adult world, understandably, because we're talking under 5 years of age. So the child's motivation is always about, I want to be the biggest and the best and most validated by others. And we go for the same patterns time and time and time again to try and get that. And growing up is taking away the rose-coloured glasses, taking away the most painful, brutal experiences we have, going in there and seeing, but I walked into there. What was I? Why was I there? Why did I make myself vulnerable to be there? It's about taking those moments, taking away the child naivety and growing up bit by bit. So all through life, we're growing up and learning things that are quite hard, take away the child innocence. But what we have is wisdom. We don't have to lose the light child, but we have to trade our innocence for wisdom, for seeing how the world really is. So we're needing to grow up, and the motivation is I want someone to take care of me and to love me and to validate me. And I want the world to revolve around me, like a 2-year-old does. And we have 2-year-old tantrums where the world's not revolving around me. And I think Trump and Kanye West are such brilliant examples of fucked 2-year-olds with delusions of grandeur saying, I am the greatest artist in the world. I am the greatest person who knows about economics in the world. I know the most about science in the world. I know the most about this in the world. I know the most. And they're too dumb to know how dumb they are, which is a literal thing. There's been evidence on that. But that is literally, but it's true, Abby. There's a lot of people like that out there. They are perfect examples. This is the king who wears with no clothes story, the fairy tale, in the invisible thread. The delusions. We have to wake up from our self-delusions. We've all got them. We can look at them and go, aren't they ridiculous? Not realising they're a mirror for our times, the delusions of our times, the stories that capitalism and growth and materialism and the more things I have, the happier I'll be. We all know that's a lie. A lot of lies are going to have to be called out. A lot of hypocrisies are going to have to be exposed. A lot of ruthless, awful manipulative behaviour is going to have to get called out. And we're going to have to see where people really are, including ourselves. So what about if we talked about, Abby, and people could contribute here, what about if we talked about what love is? We're talking about what love isn't and how we delude ourselves and pretend that it is love and stay and disempower and hurt ourselves and maintain our suffering at a peak, because that's the lesson repeated that we don't get. I've done it, we've all done it. What about if we talk about now? What would the reimagined world look like if it was based on love instead of fear? What is the feminine led with the masculine as a foundation of strength and protection and of guarding against the toxic? And together we move forward, but with the feminine values first. Prince Harry said, no, if we want to change society, we put women in places of leadership. The Kurdistan president has written an amazing book where he has said we must uplift women's organisation to put women in charge of everything. And that is how we move away from war and how we move to peace and how we heal, because our whole society, our whole global structure is suffering from heart and soul starvation. We've disregarded empathy. What if we made empathy and compassion and inclusivity the basis, and that the men with the feminine imbalance came and supported that message? And that is happening. We see that everywhere. So I'd love some ideas from people of how do you imagine the world could be as we turn from how it has been, and if the 2020s in the next 10 years, which is the most critical for climate change, but it is the most critical for our cultural change, for our relationship back in harmony with nature, to heal our second nature, which is the child, just do the easy fix, what I want for me now. What might that look like? What do you reckon, Abby? Have you thought about that? There's a curly question. Hi, Elena.
Ooh la 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 la, you're not asking. I don't know if you asked the right person. I can
We have to
always see
think
a
it's
danger in
possible.
everything, but I'm not gonna, like, that's my basic instinct to be like, if everything is connected on that, I'm sure there is some people that are gonna abuse the situation and take the power. But
Yeah.
really, I can't imagine it, sadly, and it's
Well, we
probably
have
because
to,
it's who I am.
but we
I
have to,
see,
Abby.
I see war happening for that to happen. That's why I can't imagine imagine. I can see how it's possible to go there without
Well, that
bringing a change that will make the most powerful person on earth. Well, I am starting to talk like what in
what
danger
I
to
always
make the
what
people.
I no no no. See, I'm going to challenge you there. What I say when I work with
Ah,
clients. So Dale's saying climate and cultural change go hand in hand, and they absolutely do. This is not. They're not in compartments.
I agree.
Social change and climate change, we have such a divorced relationship with nature. We have such an exploitative relationship with nature that those resources are just for whatever we want and we can do whatever we like because there has been no heart and soul, empathy, compassion, and realization of the connectivity between our species with nature. These things go hand in hand, they're not separate. This is how this works. So when I have clients, and I've had so many broken marriage
Becoming politic
clients,
a bit.
but they're not disconnected, Abby. This is we have a political agenda here because it's all the same
Mm,
thing. AOC, Bernie, they're all talking about this. The new Green Deal. We're all talking about the same things. They are
of
interconnected,
course.
and it's
Yes,
very
like
person. It is very possible, Ellie. It is definitely 1% at a time. How do I make the greatest contribution I possibly can to the reimagining, the reweaving of the global tapestry? Michael Mead talks about this. Have a listen to his podcast on Michael Mead Mosaics. How do we get there? Well, first of all, we've got to get out of being a child. And first of all, we've got to get into being an adult. We've got to connect and come home with ourselves and not look for
exactly.
that connection in other people and other things or in money or in materialism or in addictions. We've got to come home. That's what my work is trying to do. We've got to come
Mm,
from love. We've got to be able to love others and have an unconditional love where they are struggling and toxic. We are also going to have very strong boundaries about I'm not playing that game that's been played for 2,000 years. I see where you are. You're allowed to be where you are. I am walking on. I wish you well. We're also going to have boundaries of steel about that sort of stuff. So we can reimagine. And when I have clients coming to me who've come from very, very difficult, painful, lonely marriages, and there's been truckloads, let me tell you, I can't count. What I've said, but can you imagine what a good marriage would be like?
very tough.
And they've said, no, I can't. And I said, well, you can't have one then. If you cannot imagine it, if you can't imagine what it is to be loved, if you can't imagine what you loving yourself would look like, well, then you're right, you can't have it. So
Mm,
we start with self-love, which means I have self-respect. I
exactly.
listen to what I want. I see what I want. I take responsibility to go and give myself what I know nurtures and is good for me. And I work on that, and then you attract friends, business opportunities, partners, all sorts of things which reflect my self-love, my
Ça,
self-respect.
c'est ça.
And I talk about what it is that I want to go and give to the world, and other people come and say, I really love that idea, can I support you, can we build this together? Because the feminine way is about us joining together, equally responsible for delivering what we're
C'est
passionate
ça.
about. And we've got that. I think we definitely, every time I go into child, I contribute to the toxic in the world that holds us back. Every time I have that war inside of me, not to go into the war and I let my adult take over, I contribute to the solution. And this is self love. It's all about it. And self love is have a look
Self-love, of
at
course, is the
self
first
love.
step. It's the first
It's
step.
the first step. And then how do we
Even,
know how
y-
loving we are? Look at the world you are in, look at the environment you're in, and honestly look in moment to moment in the actions of your day. Was that a loving action? Was that love you just received, or was that
c'est
toxic?
ça.
And that's what we've got to do.
C'est ça. You have to try to analyze the different reason why you could be mad against yourself or just like being like,
Yeah.
je sais pas, just
Yes.
judging yourself. Sometimes you have the reflex from maybe your blueprint or friends or anything
Yeah.
where you're gonna judge yourself. But if you do
Oh,
that, you just
totally.
put yourself, you just like getting rid of yourself. And
Yes.
also you're gonna go in the world with be like, yeah, get rid of a bit of myself. Can you feel it in? She was like, I don't know what
Exactly,
to put
Abby.
in.
Perfect.
Only you can fill
Perfect
it
point.
up. Only you can fill yourself.
Perfect
So
point. We do so much self, like life is a school. So when we're in child, we abandon a lot of ourselves. And we hope that someone outside of us is going to give it to us or something. I'll win lotto or I'll meet this guy who sweeps me off my feet or this wonderful woman and But even
Mm.
if those things happen, they never last because it's not the real thing. It only comes from within. So yeah, anxiety can be an alarm to say, I'm in the wrong place, I feel in child. You'll notice that you regress into child a lot and you're very melodramatic or very distressed or
Of
very
course,
quiet or
of
very
course.
angry. You will notice you're in
Mm.
child a lot when you're in a toxic situation. When you're in a good situation, you'll notice that you're able to stay an adult so much more easily. You'll see the best of yourself. You're going to see the worst of yourself in the cellmate relationships, no question. And I
It's
wanted to
important
say to
also to
people, yeah, that I'm going to be talking
just
about
just
what big, go on.
just realize the trigger. Like see what trigger. But that's what you've been saying. But just to understand where and what is triggering you, like just what is triggering your anxiety, what can make you go in this zone that is not gonna make you have like take good choice on the next
Yeah.
action you will
I
have to
also,
do.
I actually think we can also, I'm just thinking of myself and thinking of a lot of clients I've seen. But when I was in a lot of
Mm,
pain and in a lot of child in the wrong places, wherever that was, and I'm not just talking marriages here, I'm talking in all sorts of things, or every kind of relationship for different aspects in life. And when I've been going off my tree about it, the words that I'm saying need to be said to me. How can they dot dot dot, how, why are they doing this, why are they doing that? And actually that's what I'm doing to myself. By being there, I'm enabling that to happen to myself. So in some way I am doing it. You think about it, everyone. When you get upset and you tell your friends or whatever, why do they do this, and this? Why are they doing that? I've explained to them, I've begged them, I've told them, I've given them ultimatums, however our style is. Why do they keep doing that? But that's not the question. The question is, why do you keep accepting that? Why do you stay there? It's got to be a self
c'est ça.
question, doesn't it, Abby?
Exactly like just Nigel said. My anxiety last 2 3 weeks definitely told me I was in
You're
the
in the
wrong
wrong place.
place.
Yes.
But then he said the adult is coming back into being more present.
Ah, thank you. Perfect.
I feel like I just want to ask a question. When you said the adults come back and be more present, are you gonna get more present in the place that have triggered your anxiety?
That throws you into child all the time. If you are in
C'est
child,
ça.
you're going to be obsessed with the past and always going back to the past and the wounds of the past. And they're very genuine, they're very real, but you'll be very focused on the past, always going back, 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 back. And then having a repeat of what's been happening in the past in your current circumstances. And the child will be
Mm,
bemoaning, complaining, upset, angry, anxious, whatever they are about it. In the adult, you are in the present, and it's like, well, would I take my child to this daycare? Is this where I would literally take my child to this place, or do
mm,
I need to change this place that I'm creating with my stories, or that I am enabling by staying wherever I am? The adult's in the present and about, well, what do I want to contribute in the future? I've got to get the present right to be able to be an elder in the future.
but the first job also of the adult is analyzing what the child sees, I suppose.
Seeing it, pressing pause and seeing the
Seeing it,
child in action.
understanding it. It's really hard when you're triggered because you just get in child, and when you're
You
in
can't
child, you
see.
cannot think properly. You cannot
You
see
can't
the
hear.
solution.
No.
My swan would tell me to just go away and take a breath away. I suppose I could have been doing the yo-yo because swan dogs, swan going away, dogs coming back.
Yes, that's it.
Always
True.
feel like I did something back, you know. And but also this also I think really helped me to take the time most of the time, take the time to go away, understanding, seeing that I've been triggered by something. Most of the time, it's misunderstanding. People don't mean to trigger you. It's just that you have a sensibility about this trigger, so you searching that. That's like Kylie. Sorry if I
Kylie, yeah.
mispronounce. Yeah, Kylie just say I have noticed that being adult is much easier since I left my ex. That's it. See, this
That's
is
what we're
what we're talking
saying.
about.
That's
Yeah,
what we're. You'll
just
be
getting rid.
exhausted. You'll be playing the same drama on repeat over and over and over again, getting more and more
C'est ça.
depleted. And the drama might be a quiet,
C'est ça.
non-connected, lonely drama, whatever the drama, the story is, or it can be a volatile story. There's all sorts of styles. But you will be
Mm,
drained. You'll be becoming more and more the worst version of yourself. Nothing will be changing. Nothing is heard. We might have a
Uh,
few temporary makeups, and then it goes into descent into hell again. A lot of people, I need to just say for the people that I was talking to yesterday in Persona Grata, I think for us to rise, for the feminine to rise, because the feminine has been in the depths of the grief and the rage about the mistreatment of the feminine for thousands of years. And so a lot of people will be collectively feeling the sludge, the sewers of how badly it's been mistreated. And they're expressing that rage, devastation, nausea of that toxicity. Like we're actually allergic to it. We can't stand it. And so some people, nightingales and ravens in particular, are going to be like processing this in their bodies. This might have been a little bit about what was happening in you, Nigel. But if you're in that place, remember that keep going towards the light. You may be expressing and moving that through your body and system on behalf of the collective, but we can't stay there now. That's not where the feminine can stay. It can't stay in the underworld trapped by Hades anymore. It can't be Persephone
oh no.
trapped in there underneath. It's got to be Hecate. It's got to be, we've got to bring ourselves through now. We've got to move that story where we come back into the play and we say, it's our time now and we're here to lead. But we'll be loving, we'll be fair, we'll be just. We will call out hypocrisy. We will expose what is no longer appropriate, and we will not play with you. That is the answer. We will not play with you. Can I say that on November the 15th to Friday night in Sawyers Valley at the Sound Temple in Perth, a little bit out of Perth, I'm going to be talking about big love, and it's big love, and I'd love you people to come along and hear, and we're going to talk about soulmate, but I want to talk about big love and a love-based world and reimagining the world from a place of love rather than from power and greed and fear, which is where we've come from, because we are all here to add our thread, to add our part in how we do this, and we need to do it in ourselves, then in our own little family homes, and then in our communities. And any little nudge you get, go and volunteer here. Go and tell someone here you'd like to help with this. Go and do this. We need to act on them now. We need to act on them. We need to go and contribute. But if you're around, I think it's $30 for the 2 hours. And we may be able to live stream it on Facebook. We're looking at that. But I'm very passionate about this work, and I'd love to have you come along. So look on Persona Grata Facebook. There's an event there. If you can, or bring some people who are new to the work along, we'd love to have you. And Abby, we just finished a podcast series all about knowing when we're in the child motivation. Jesse and I, it's quite irreverent and funny and in your face about this is where you shoot yourselves in the foot. That to wake up
I'm not
series,
in the podcast, huh?
Sorry, but you're not in the podcast, but you're putting it all together for me.
No.
So
Yeah,
Jesse and I have done it. But one day, I have a dream. One day, you and Jesse and I are going to tour. We're definitely going to tour, and we're going to start doing some talks, and we're going to do some touring, and we're going to really bring this to the generations. We're going to bring it to the generations, and we're going to speak, hopefully, to a lot of people about this work because it's our time. But what would you like to tell people about our User Guide to Humans podcast series? It should be out next week, won't it? And we're coming to Brizzy, I promise you. So it's going to be out next week, Abby?
Yes, normally during the week, I just need to figure out how to make everything come together and it doesn't glitch and everything. So it should arrive soon. Everything is ready.
We'll announce it.
Well, we'll announce it definitely.
And we're charging.
I'll do my best for it to be out before the next live. Promise.
Oh, excellent. So look, we're going to charge $2 or $1.99 for each episode, and you can buy the personas individually. The first episode is free for everyone, and then you can have a listen and hear all about it. I think $1.99 to be able to have me talking to you as you go to sleep at night is just a bargain. I mean, wow. People do that. I can't believe it. Or it's going to be $15.99. So still think it's a bargain if you want to understand yourself and other people and be able to see more clearly the child in everyone and in ourselves. Yes, Abby?
I'm just saying, like, the podcast is not just talking like the live we
personas.
Yeah, it's more about the personas, and it's definitely about personas, and each episode is separated by personas.
Yes.
And we just, Cathy and Jess, going more deeper into the personas. Like,
people are saying I should charge more. Abby, charge $10 an episode.
No.
No. We want to make it accessible.
It needs to be accessible, yes.
It needs to be accessible, and we'll get around there. We will tour, and we'll bring everything we've got to as many people as we can. because I'm going to be brave now. My fear of execution and my child's story about execution and crucifixion has no place now. These are the stories, our deepest fear stories actually need to be deleted. And it's about, no, it's okay now. We've done that story. Let's move on. Let's move on. So, but we don't just talk about the personas. We talk about how they relate to each other. So, you know,
Yes.
how swans get on with sparrows and how dogs get on with ravens. But we do compatibility with each other persona. And we also talk about what it means if they're in your top three or if they're in your second three and what that looks like. We're talking about book 2 a lot, which will be out end of November. User Guide to Humans, How I Navigate Life, which is pulling book 1 and book 2 really go together as a team. And when you put this all together,
Oh, I'm just
oh my
impatient.
God, it's just amazing. And as you talked about, Abby,
Oh,
I go from swan to dog and, you know, I go from raven to lion. A lot of things happening there together. And then I go to parrot. Jess and I talk about this in detail. What does it mean to have, intimacy? We'll be discussing that on the Big Love. So this is great info. And this is still just the start of what we want to offer for you guys. Like Abby and I have a big plan. We've got so much. So our story of abandonment, rejection, dislike, we have to get away from this. This is just the start. I'm so grateful to have this great community. We're all going to step up and support everyone. And I want to hear about people's dreams, about what they contribute to the world. And if you're on tour with us, with Conan Denham and I, if you're on tour, we're going to make space to hear your dreams of let's reimagine the new world together. We'll talk about how fucked what love is and our part in it. Then we're going to talk about what love is. Then we're going to talk about what the 2020s are about. And then I want to hear people's dreams. What do you want to contribute so we can all get behind each other? Because that's the new way. That's the new way.
yeah,
It's a good topic, hey?
it is. It is. It is. I would really calm down. If we could have released all the book we need to do, I think people will be so much ready for that.
Yeah.
If you see what I mean.
But,
I'm just spoiling you.
see how tough Abby is on me? Oh, my God.
No, it's not against you.
I keep telling him I can't work any harder. I
Oh.
can't do any more hours than I am.
Yeah,
I
yeah,
can't
yeah, yeah.
process any more than I can. You know what? I believe in divine timing. And I think everything that's happening for all of us now is exactly as it is meant to be. It is destiny. We're up to where we're up to. I hope you guys will listen to the live stream that we hopefully will put up with the Big Love Talk Friday, November 15th. If you can get there in person, please come and add to that. There will be a charge for that live streaming. And I'm going to do lots more of those next year. We just have to come together. Let's be super excited together and uplift each other and realise that, you know what, we're not sitting alone at home, lonely, in despair, cynical, giving up or devastated and saying, I can't do this. How do I do it by myself? We're not doing it by
I
ourselves. We're
will
doing it
later.
all
I
together.
will.
Oh, Nigel. Oh, I'm going to give you
I
such a
have
hard
to.
time
I
in
have
Brisbane when I meet you, Nigel. So, yeah, plenty of people say, are you writing book 2 yet? Have you done it yet? Crack the whip. Fuck off. I'm doing it as fast as I can. There's
to.
so much that's
I'm
done behind
starting.
the
I'm
scenes.
starting to feel a bit anxious about book 2 now because it's like a film when you were expecting too much about a film and you're like, this is it. Oh, I don't.
Thank you.
You don't
That's just,
expect anything from book 2. Just let it happen.
that is such a swan statement. Oh, that's awful.
No, that's true. No.
Don't expect anything from what I've done. You're going to be really deeply
No,
disappointed by
no,
what
no, no.
Katie's got to
It's
offer.
the only thing I
Fabulous.
can say about book 2, and I think the only way you can just expect it is it's just gonna make more sense about the
Oh,
positioning
and
of your
all the
persona.
questions you have now, it's going to make more sense.
Like, and this is why I'm so impatient about it because Katie gave you the first book, and I'm sure you
Thanks,
still have
Stacey.
some question about it and question about am I really this and that in 5 or 6 or stuff like this. And the book 2 is supposed to make sense of all of that. You would
It will.
understand your position and what it means on those positions.
Yes.
Like, I'm not
And
gonna spoil,
also,
but
can
it's
I
just
say, for
yes.
those who find reading not their favourite way of learning, but also like the repetition, the podcasts are funny. Like I listened to a bit of it the other day with Jesse, and he said something, and I laughed exactly the same way at exactly the same time as I had on the recording. It was just wonderful. But when you listen to them repeatedly, like the book is meant to be read over and over again, but it's really easy to listen to the podcast as you're driving or as you're exercising, going for a walk.
Exactly.
And you might think, I really want to understand my little raven child or my little nightingale child, my sparrow child, my lion child. What do I need to do? And then other times it will be about you. Thanks, Natalie. Other times it will be about you. I've really got to get to grips with my bloody dog, for fuck's sake, or my bloody beaver. And I can say that about mine. Then you'll listen. Give yourself a course of, I'm going to listen to that podcast over and again, because what will happen, Will, is you'll start to get wake-up call, and 3 weeks later you'll hear something that Jess and I said, but you'll get it. It's one thing to hear it. To process it is another thing. So to have both books out by the end of the year and the podcast series, I think you're going to get very strong in understanding who you are. And what you said you were in your quiz could be completely delusional. Remember, we've talked about being deluded? A lot of quiz scores are delusional. They're what we'd like to be. Be honest, you are exactly as you're meant to be. You're perfect, and you're only going to deliver what you're here for if you bring your personas in harmony together with the missing heart, brave heart, kind heart, or steady heart that needs consistent heart. All right, Abby, I think we've gone over time.
That's okay. Do you have something else?
That's okay. No,
I'm okay with it. We can.
Yeah,
I'm completely.
we can say this was your lot today, my darlings, and I'd love some feedback on the podcast when you get them, because then we're going to do more podcasts. We're going to do some more podcasts, and we're going to do topics. So we're going to start interpreting world events with the podcast and make them current affairs, because everything is linked. The more we see, the more we can step into what we came to be. Lots of eyes open, the uprising, the feminine, but it's self-love and the honesty of where have I really put myself, and the 2020 vision, how I can understand how I got here with compassion, but I don't have to stay here, and I don't have to accepting and calling what love isn't love. That's one of the first things. All right, my darlings. Okay. Yeah, it took you 100,000 times to do the quiz to get that. Thanks, guys. Can we have lots of likes and ticks and loves so that I don't feel insecure before we leave? Did you like today? Was it okay?
Do you want to answer the question of Megan or not?
What was that? What was Megan's question? I didn't see it because it passed too quickly.
It's all good. I feel like it's a complicated question. Just hope so.
You talk about child, adult, and other opposites. All these all interchangeable for each other. Or do I need to look deeper as these means different things? Oh, look at all the loves. It's not even likes. They're red. Excellent. Okay, you know what, darling? Megan, go and get the user guide to humans, How I Was Born to Be, and have a read. Read the introduction. Your personas, which have child, adult, elder sides, do not change. The combination does not change. But how we are, they are chalk and cheese as to the versions of ourselves that we become from that.
They're
but
connected.
Go and have a look and listen to the free podcast as well. There's lots of free stuff, and there's free lives talking about it too. Yeah. Okay, Abby, God knows what we're going to talk about next week. Let's see what divine inspiration comes.
Okay.
But we'll do something. We'll do something.
Yes, definitely.
And let's focus, guys. We need 2020 vision on how we got to where we are, the good and the bad, for the 2020s. So let's focus on 2020 vision for the 2020s.
Thank you, people.
And I'll do Instagram stories on this every day on Persona Grata Facebook and on Instagram, Raven Creative 21. Let's tune in because there's a lot being downloaded right now. See how you go, and I'd love to hear from you. Thank you, Abby.
Thank you, Kathy.
It's great to see you. We'll talk soon.
Great to
Bye,
see
everyone.
You. Take care, guys. Bye.